Now, happy to say Gary Breen is with us. Gary, how are things?
Very good, Joe. How are you, mate?
Yeah, very well, very well. Lots to
Good.
talk to you about.
So much.
So, well, I guess fresh from Wolves, and then it's always when the kind of cadence of the fixtures gives like a Man City a chance to go first, and they beat
Yeah.
Newcastle and kind of celebrate with gusto, like it was a real "we know you're watching at home" kind of a celebration.
With cocktails, Joe. They're celebrating with cocktails, apparently, according to Pep.
And so on the face of it, Spurs are not where they want to be, but still, it's North London derby. It's away from home. It's tricky, and not least again, fresh from Wolves. And Arsenal come out and well, I guess you have to say they kind of stamp a bit of authority on things again. 4-1, goal, two for Gyökeres, Eze on the score sheet again. So, talk to us about the game yesterday.
Well, I've said this to you before. I think the North London derby is probably one of the most exciting fixtures in the Premier League now in terms of the intensity attached to it. And this had jeopardy, this game, in the fact that if Arsenal drop points, you feel it could be crucial to their title challenge. If Spurs drop points, you feel that they're getting closer to that relegation trapdoor. So it did have that. I mean, probably not the jeopardy of 3 or 4 seasons ago when Conte and Arsenal were playing for that Champions League place. But nevertheless, the only thing I could say, Joe, is that I never had any doubt really about Arsenal, and not necessarily because of how they're performing, but ultimately because of just how decimated Tottenham are with injuries, a new manager coming in. And 6 minutes into that game, Joe, I'm watching it thinking, this is absolute chaos for Tottenham. They haven't a clue what they're trying to do. Now, bearing in mind this is a derby game, and in those scenarios, when you're playing them, you don't actually need a ball, either team, for the first 10 minutes because you're just tearing into each other. But after 6 or 7 minutes of this game, Arsenal had 82% possession away from home in a North London derby. And it was just a case of the fact that Igor Tudor just literally come in there, tried to do something, tried to create something. There's so many injuries in that defensive unit. So he's had to create something, and they were just a mess. And the only thing that saved them from not being blown away in that first 10 minutes was the fact that the referee's communications with his linesman stopped the game for about 5 minutes. It just allowed them a little bit of a breather for everything to settle down, to stop Arsenal's momentum. But they were just so far off it, Tottenham. And the reality is now they are genuinely in a relegation battle. And the worry for those Tottenham supporters and everyone associated with that club is that that squad's not being built for it. They don't have the type mentality for it. They don't have a crowd that will put up with winning or playing defensively to try and eke those results out. And you've got Forest and West Ham who look so battle hardened for that type of challenge that Tottenham are so vulnerable.
Oh, that's really yes, it's interesting because I mean I think the prevailing feeling is but they're too good to get kind of really sucked
No, they're
into it.
not.
Yeah,
They're not,
that
Joe, because
mentality
yeah,
point.
no,
Yeah,
it literally is a scenario in terms of it seems a stupid thing to say, but you've got to kind of have experience of those relegation battles to know how to cope with it because everything changes when you're at the top. And the reality is those players are good enough to be at the top. Listen, they're in the top four of the Champions League. The contrast then to be able to kind of battle your way through tough games and the injuries is just incredible in terms of the quality that's missing for them. So they're really putting players into positions that they don't really look comfortable in. Palhinha's playing at centre back, and that's probably why Gyökeres in the end had one of his best ever games for Arsenal because of the fact that he's up against people who don't exactly know how to defend those positions. So Tottenham have got it all to do.
yeah. Madison, Kulusevski, Pedro Porro, Doggy, Bentancur, Bergval, Romero picked
Yeah,
a bad time to miss 4 games suspension.
yeah.
So, like that the club are obviously getting huge criticism from the fan base, but that is a hell of an injury list. I mean, maybe it's more than a coincidence when that many are out. I don't know, but a lot of them are kind of long term as well. So yeah, what they're 4 points above the drop zone. West Ham and Forest. It's West Ham and
Yeah.
Forest who would need to overtake them. How are they looking to your eye?
Well, Forest was so impressive in midweek in Europe going to Fenerbahce, literally putting them to the sword. Bearing in mind, Fenerbahce got so many experienced ex-Premier League players. So you're looking at then Vitor Pereira's going in there, who's an impact manager. He's done it throughout his career. Certainly did it for Wolves a couple of seasons ago and saving them when they were in a similar position. So he has that. And what he has within that group of Forest players, Joe, is a really resolute defensive unit. You think of how good they were under Nuno initially in terms of getting to the top end of the Premier League. So they know how to defend. They know how to eke out results. And then they have the real quality there in midfield of Anderson, Morgan Gibbs White. so many quality players that even if they're not playing particularly well, which can be a case of momentum down the bottom, they'll pick up points. Then you're looking at West Ham, who suddenly starting to look really good again. Nuno has sorted them out, and they'll pick up points, and that puts real pressure on Tottenham. And that's the problem: is that
Yeah.
last season when Tottenham had lost 17 games and were down the bottom of the Premier League, the reality was is that they were never going to go down because of the fact that that scenario over the last 2 or 3 seasons, the promoted teams are going straight back down.
Yeah.
But how good the fact that Leeds and especially Sunderland have put massive pressure on those established clubs.
Yeah, that point about being built for it's so interesting. They're kind of like a Ferrari on a muddy lane. You know what I mean? This is not what they're
Yeah.
not what they're used to. On the title race, then, how do you see things?
I don't see it as a case. I don't get carried away with the euphoria of a 4-1 North London derby win. I expected them to do that. That won't be the challenge for Arsenal. And even saying that, Joe, as bad as Tottenham were, there were key moments in the game. I mean, the Raya save on 82 minutes is unbelievable because that brings it back to 3-2.
That
And then the
where
nervousness.
it sneaks under him and he reacts like a cat.
Oh, it's unbelievable save. I mean, I don't think many keepers could have made that. But if suddenly that goes 3-2 with 10 minutes to go, and in a kind of like anxiety that Arsenal showed against Wolves creeps in, it could change it. I felt that that was such a soft decision in terms of disallowing Kolo Muani's goal for just pushing Gabriel under the ball.
Yeah,
I know you can say, well, he's got two hands on him, and I know as a centre half, when you do commit to the jump and you come off the ground, any little touch is going to disturb you. But we've seen that with Gabriel before. He feels a little bit of contact as he feels he's gone underneath the ball, and he buys the referee's decision, and he did it there. Because listen, I could tell you, you think about that Euro goal against Fulham earlier in the season when he pushes Bassi, that's given. No, there's no foul there. Goal given. You think of Ekatike scoring against Tottenham with a header on Romero. That there's no foul given there, and I can't see the difference in any of those pushes. So again, you're looking at that consistency. So a little bit of a rub of the green went in Arsenal's favour. I know everyone will counter that by saying, "Hey, yeah, but it's 4-1. They won comfortably," but they were crucial moments. They were just tapped into whether or not Arsenal were feeling a little bit nervous in seeing the result out. But 10 games to go. This is what it's all about now. And it was so interesting. We talked about Pep saying about his City players. Listen, go and have some cocktails after that impressive win against Newcastle. And it was just, for me, was just Pep saying, we've been down this road so often.
mm.
We know how to deal with it. We're going to relax. There's no way on earth he will let his players relax, but we're going to project that we're confident, we're relaxed, we're having cocktails, trying to put the Arsenal pressure back on Arteta and his Arsenal team.
Yeah. Well, it's going to stay interesting. I mean, Chelsea next for Arsenal, so like again, it's one banana skin after another.
Well, it is. It's a tough game for Chelsea, but even if you listen to Liam Rosina, to quote him, he says they set fire to 4 points in their last two games, give away cheap goals against Leeds late on and against Burnley to drop those points. And again, ill discipline rears its ugly head for Chelsea. I think that's their eighth red card. And Fofana will be a big miss. He's a
Yeah.
good defender for Chelsea. The only problem they've had with him is he never stays fit. And now when he has done, he gets himself stupidly sent off. So that will be a tough game. Yep, no doubt. But they're all tough at the business end of the season. You've got to get over the line.
I just wanted to ask, by the way, out of interest, I was reading a few player ratings of the game, and I was surprised. Like Declan Rice, from a lot of people, was getting like a 5, and I appreciate he made a glaring mistake for the equaliser. But that aside, geez, at times I thought he looked like
He's unbelievable, Joe.
I thought he looked like a 16-year-old playing with 14-year-olds. I thought he was just
It's
majestic
such a
and
good analogy.
he
Yeah.
was rampaging and elegant and like he's so powerful and like sprinting back, dog's work at times and cleaning up, and then on the ball he'd win it and set them again. He'd win it and give it off to someone and set it and back up the play. I found myself looking at him going, this guy is like, he's so complete. And then I read a bunch of player ratings and it was like 5, 6, 5. And I thought, maybe I don't know what I'm seeing here, but I just thought it was brilliant.
Giving those player ratings. Who actually does them?
I'm
You know
not,
what I mean?
I'm not gonna name and shame, but I really did. So go on, talk to us about Rice.
Listen, Joe. Listen. Do you know what I loved about him as well? Because he gave away the goal,
Hmm.
and it wasn't a lack of concentration because everyone highlighted he was telling everyone concentrate. Well, he got tackled. But his reaction straight away was like, yeah, okay, I made a mistake. Then he starts laughing to himself, like as if to say, listen, all right, I made a mistake. I will get us back into this. And just that character. I remember doing one of his early games in commentary, sorry, and it was West Ham away to Newcastle. He's playing for us at the time, breaking in. And we made a mistake. it must have been his first season. He gave the ball away edge of his box. Manager took him off at half time. He was distraught. He was in tears nearly walking off the pitch, having given away a goal up at St James's Park. And it just shows you how much he's evolved. That just no panic. All right, give him a goal away. It's 1-1. Don't worry. I'll get us back. And that analogy you just said there is because it immediate when you are 14, you play against a 15-year-old or a 16-year-old, they seem massive to you, don't they? They can run quicker and you're so stronger. You've hit the nail on the head there. It just looks a level above nearly everyone in the Premier League. I'd be fascinated. The only one I've ever seen him really give him problems at the stage of his career now that he's at is Caicedo. So I'm looking forward to that battle next week.
Oh, nice. Okay. Um, Speaking of us and speaking of mistakes, Nathan Collins obviously going to be a very important player in a month's time.
Yeah.
He's kind of been taken out of the Brentford side last couple of weeks and was on the bench at the weekend against Brighton, and he came on and like immediately. I mean, it was within about a minute or two. There was a Pascal Gross cross and with Welbeck on his shoulder. People have probably seen it, I presume, but I guess balls kind of coming to his side, and he tries a little flick. He tries to kind of flick it away with his heel and makes a complete mess of it, and Welbeck pounces. And it's a really eye-catching kind of mistake. And I guess people, they feel Collins has that in him, rightly or wrongly, that something can go badly wrong at a certain moment in the midst of lots of good play. I'm sure you're the defender. Talk to us about Collins here.
When if you're trying to picture the scene, if you have not seen the mistake that he makes, ball comes into the box. Now think of prime Paul McGrath. He's facing his goal, and then he backheels a clearance that invariably nearly goes to the halfway line. Now the great man is probably the only central defender who should be trying that, and certainly Neil Collins, Nathan Collins shouldn't be attempting that. And in terms of context of the game, Joe, he's just come on as a sub 1 minute. It's his first touch of the ball. And he has got enough time as the ball's coming in to adjust his body and just clear it with his left foot. But he attempts that and makes an absolute mess of it. Now, people are going, listen, he's been out of the team for the last 4 games. I've got it on good authority from Brentford supporters or friends of mine that Heath has been resting players, or I should say the sports scientists are doing it. So the other centre halves have come out of the team throughout the season, had a little bit of a breather. And this is what is happening now at the moment with Nathan in terms of just giving him a chance to have a breather. He hasn't started any of the last 4 Premier League games. He started the game against Macclesfield in the FA Cup. Now, the positives of that are it's a long, hard season, probably can take the benefits of it, come back stronger. The negatives are, certainly in my opinion, is that playing centre back's about rhythm. It's about playing all the time. I think it's the one position you literally can't come in and off of the pitch. I think you need to be playing regularly. And you just saw there, that's a perfect example. His time is completely off, hasn't read the bounce of the cross, hasn't anticipated where his body shape should be, where he can clear it. And that would be the concern for me. Now, listen, that playoff game, which seems like it's taken an age
Oh,
to come round, doesn't it? I'm like,
it's like
my God.
it's like Christmas now, and we're sort of like the 6th of December, and time's not moving. I mean, we're
Yeah,
just
I'm like,
hanging there.
oh, when is this game going to happen? But and the reality is, we're all looking at all our players and thinking, who's playing, who's fit, who's in good form, who's not playing particularly well, and we kind of think like, oh, we just need them all like that. So from an Irish perspective, having a break in terms of leading into those big games is not a bad thing. But for me, I'm thinking he needs to be playing regularly to have his
Well,
timing right.
if only his manager gave a damn about the Republic of Ireland. I mean, Jesus,
Yeah,
Keith, the finger out.
yeah. Come on, Keith,
So,
you're
so that,
doing great. Get him back in there, will you? For God's sake.
well, listen. Let's give Andrews the benefit of the doubt here. He's taken him out of the team now to rest him, and then in the lead up, he's going to get it back in and get him rhythm just in time. But that is
Yeah.
interesting because most people had looked at the situation and assumed he was out of the team as opposed to rotation or resting. But your
Oh, it's not.
sense
It
is,
isn't.
yeah,
It isn't being dropped. No,
right,
it isn't. It
right,
literally is. I mean, listen. It sounds ridiculous to me as a centre back, an old school centre back, thinking you're resting centre backs. I mean, it's not the most physically demanding in terms of yards
yeah.
coverage, and especially the way Brentford play as well. They do defend deep. So, but listen, sports scientists will have you believe that this is the way to go.
Meanwhile, just on that theme, we touched on it earlier in the show, but Troy Parrott scored goal 34 for club this season, goal 29 in total when you include his Ireland goals. So, I mean, 29 goals. He must just, the confidence through the roof versus Evan Ferguson. The reporting I've seen is that he was back with Brighton during the week to meet with physios and medical staff there because his ankle injury is, I mean, touch wood and all that, but it is segueing into a real chronic condition. surgical intervention not ruled out, etc. It's worrying for him. I presume he'll be available in some shape or form for March, but it's hard to envisage him being in red hot form, a la Parrott. So
Yeah.
the good and the bad there.
Yeah, no, exactly. I mean, for Troy Parrott, it's incredible because even it's like I was even thinking of Troy Parrott in the North London derby yesterday, where Eza gets 5 goals in 2 games against Tottenham. I'm like, this is Troy Parrott stuff. It just, it's just synonymous with like that 5 goals in the 2 games, but remarkable. It just shows you about momentum as a player, and you often hear this about centre forwards. You're just in such a good vein. You're in great rhythm, like we said, even defenders. But for a goal scoring point of view, Troy's just like going from strength to strength, and I've no doubt that the bigger clubs of Europe will come looking for him now in the summer. I was delighted that he stayed put, and from an Irish perspective, that he could continue to score goals and bring that confidence into the Irish team. For Evan, it's a scenario we're hearing it, and even his manager at Rome has come out and said this player is injury prone. He didn't do it as a negative. He didn't do it as a stick to beat him. He just said he has a body now that's struggling to get over these injuries, and that is the worry because we saw him burst onto the scene. And you always think about young players is that they're still coming into their shape, their physical stature, building that strength within the body. I know aesthetically he looks a big, strong lad, but it's about being able to cope with playing regular football all the time and whether or not your body can take that type of wear and tear. And up to this point, he hasn't managed it.
Gary, a general point. It's probably you have to delve into your own career a little bit to answer it, but a lot of these Irish players now, in the 2 weeks, 10 days, 7 days out from the Czechia game, it will cross their mind as they play their final league match before departing to Dublin. Geez, I don't want to get injured here. What's
Oh,
that like?
yeah.
I mean, you've been on the eve of of World Cups and big games, and the great received wisdom is, God, if you start worrying about injury, you'll play a little bit tentative, and you're more likely to get injured or whatever. But I mean, that thought will flash across a lot of players' minds.
Oh, absolutely, it will, Joe. Bearing in mind just what the magnitude of this game. These players have never been near a playoff for Ireland, and they've had so much kind of grief off of how poor results have been from ex-players like myself, our supporters, and not like kind of doing it in a bad way, just so frustration. We want them to do so well. And now suddenly they're on the cusp of it now. And those players will sense that, of course they will. Certainly when we had won our playoff game, and then you're leading into the kind of like the back end of your club season. I got a bad injury as well, my knee, and as soon as it happened in a game at Birmingham, I think it was away, I had to come off, and you're not necessarily thinking about your next game for your club. You're thinking about, oh my God, is this at risk? And even that great, like I say, that very good Ireland team we had at the time, we lost players to injury. Lost Stephen Carr, probably the best right back in the Premier League at the time, to injury. So that's the reality. You can't think like that, but of course you're going to because it's your dream. These lads have dreamt about playing for Ireland at a major tournament, and they're so close to it. So it's definitely going to be in their thought process. They're never going to say it. Of course, they won't. They won't want to say it in terms of their club thinking, well, listen, concentrate on the game at hand. But I think it's just human nature that they will be thinking about it all the time.
Yeah. Um, just to finish, then I know you've done quite a few Celtic games for
Yeah.
Premier. There, I mean, so what a fascinating season. We've said it a few times in the show. You just hope they have behind the scenes cameras rolling because there's a hell of a documentary in this
Wow.
season. So they lost to Hibs 2-1. They are six behind Hearts with a game in hand. The Stuttgart defeat was very chastening. Schmeichel booed by his own fans. Martin,
Yeah, that was awful.
yeah, it was a bit grim. So I guess, Martin O'Neill is trying to just steady this ship at the moment. Like no one was under the illusion that this was a super strong, perfectly balanced squad. There was always a certain hope that O'Neill was gonna, just one last time be the horse whisperer and kind of work something. So, what do you want to tell us about Celtic in your eye?
Oh, listen, he's worked his magic incredibly, Martin, in terms of what he's done with Celtic. Because you're quite right, Joe. Both I and George Hamilton on Premier Sports have followed their whole European campaign. It's been great to work with George. But what we have been able to see is a real insight that this is probably the weakest Celtic squad I think I've ever seen. I've got no kind of like, other than doing my research around games and stuff, I wouldn't be an avid Celtic fan as such, but they're so short in quality. They genuinely are in that final third. But the biggest difference and the biggest problem I think Martin is having now with this Celtic team is that it's in no way in his image. And what I mean by that is, and people would say he hasn't put together the squad. I know he hasn't, but you've got central defenders there who just can't defend crosses into the box. Now, if you think about Martin's teams over the years, be it his Leicester team, who was so strong in the Premier League, winning league cups, you had the likes of big guys like Matt Elliott, Jerry Taggart, and then that Celtic team that he was, that iconic Celtic team that he did have, Bobo Baldi, Mialbi, those type of got real physical presence, and then Richie Dunn at Aston Villa. And then, of course, all the Ireland centre backs he had as well in the national team. He doesn't have that. As good as Scales are and Trusty are at like nipping in and quite look easy on the eye, he just can't deal with basic balls into the box. And it's been found out all season, not just against the quality of a team like Stuttgart, who are essentially the best team they've played this season alongside Roma, who really gave them a really tough time as well.
Yeah.
And the reality is now is that that's back-to-back defeats for the first time for Martin over the two interim spells that he's had. Now he's got 4 away games on the spin, Joe. So he's got Stuttgart again that we're doing on Thursday. He's got Rangers then in the league away. Aberdeen, that game that was postponed, shoehorned in between the Rangers Cup game. It's a tough ask from it, really is. And the reality is that you said about Schmeichel, he's struggling. He really is. An age thing. I think he's carrying an injury, and as a result, he can only do so much. He's not shying away from the challenge, but he has been caught out on certain strikes from distance. And what was the biggest and certainly the saddest part of all the dramas that has happened at Celtic? And I understand the fans' frustrations and their right to voice that. Absolutely, they should do. But Stuttgart had 30,000 fans who applied for the 3,000 tickets to go to Celtic Park last Thursday. And that just is a reminder of just what an iconic ground it is, that we hear of all the best players in the world, like Messi, saying they want to tick that off their career that they have played at Celtic Park. So the atmosphere, Joe, was absolutely bouncing. Celtic fans were up for it. The Stuttgart ones were in full voice. And as soon as the game kicked off, the Celtic fans did their protest and threw the balls on the pitch. And there was a delay for about 5 or 6 minutes. And you just thought, you have literally just taken the air and the energy out of the whole stadium. And Celtic never recovered. And Martin was quite vocal in terms of coming out for it and saying it. And listen, I would never question those Celtic fans in terms of getting their point across, because ultimately they want to be heard. And that was the time they would say that the whole world is watching.
Yeah.
But it did leave their team in with a mountain to climb up against a superior team anyway. It was such a sad sight to see that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think everyone's really watching this title race now. I mean, to state the obvious, look, O'Neill's footballing credentials obviously are fairly well ensconced at this stage. But were he to magic up one final
Oh, it'd be
league title,
incredible.
like, can you imagine the
Yeah.
scenes on the pitch, Celtic
Oh yeah.
Park, if they've won
Oh,
the
it'd be
league?
amazing. And you
It'd be
know,
kind of a legendary thing, you know?
well, he is a legendary thing as well. And the Celtic hierarchy is so fortunate that they've been able to get Martin back in, and for him to take on the weight of the troubles at the club on his shoulders, where the supporters will get behind him, because it's just been incredible. He initially comes back and makes up an 8 point difference to Hearts, and then hands it back over to Nancy, who makes a mess of it. And then he comes back in and he's chiseling away against another 6 point deficit.
Yeah.
But it just feels now that the quality of that squad is being exposed.
Right.
It genuinely is, in terms of they can't really break down low blocks. That they have been relying on late goals so often, because they haven't been playing well. As good as Martin hasn't done in terms of picking up the points, they haven't been playing particularly well.
Yeah.
And now the challenge really is on the fact that they will now play Rangers in the on firm derby. Hearts can sit back and relax and think, well, they're going to take points off of each other.
Hmm.
But having said that, we've seen this before with teams like Aberdeen, whether or not Hearts can get over the line, because the nerves kick in terms of taking this title away from Celtic. I know Rangers have only won one in God knows how long, but they're the two giants of Scottish football. So it's still fascinating, but Martin will have to use all his know-how, which he has done up to this point, to get this Celtic team over the line.
Yeah. Fascinating one. Brilliant, man. Thanks so much. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, Joe. Take care, mate.